Insecticide formulations. A pesticide formulation is a mixture of chemicals which effectively control a pest. Formulating a pesticide involves processing it to improve its storage, handling, safety, application, and effectiveness. The pesticide formulation is a mixture of active ingredient and other ingredients, previously called inert ingredients. An active ingredient is a substance that prevents, kills, or repels a pest or acts as a pest regulator, desiccant, defoliant, synergist, or nitrogen stabilizer. Other or inert ingredients may aid in the application of the active ingredient. Other ingredients can be solvents, carriers, adjuvants, or any other compound besides the active ingredient which is intentionally added. There are many types of other ingredients like solvents and liquids that dissolve the active ingredient. Carriers and liquids are solid chemicals that are added to a pesticide product to aid in the delivery of the active ingredient, and adjuvants often help make the pesticide stick to or spread out on the application surface like leaves. Other adjuvants aid in the mixing of some formulations when they are diluted for application. Pesticides come in many different formulations due to variations in the active ingredient solubility, ability to control the pest, and ease of handling and transport. Depending upon the mode of applications, dry and liquid formulations are common forms. They may also be classified as solid, liquid, and gaseous formulations. Classification: solid formulations, dust, wettable or water in dispersible powder, granules, baits, etc. Liquid formulations, solution, emulsifiable concentrates, ultra low volume formulations, gaseous formulations like fumigant, aerosol, foams, smokes, mists, and fog. Solid formulation, dusts. It is a dust formulation, and the toxicant is diluted either by mixing with or by impregnation on a suitable finely divided carrier. The carrier may be an organic flour like walnut shell flour, wood bark, or pulverized mineral like sulfur, diatomite, tripolite, lime, gypsum, talc, pyrophyllite, or clay, metapulgate, bentonites, volcanic ash. The toxicant is in a dust formulation ranges from 0.65 to 25%. Dusts are defined as those having a particle size less than 100 mu, and with decrease in particle size and toxicity of the formulation increases. A few dust formulations are concentrates and contain a high percentage of active ingredients. These concentrates are mixed with dry inert carriers before applying. Dusts are always used dry and can easily drift to non-target sites. They are widely used for seed treatments and sometimes for agricultural applications. In structures, dust formulations are used in cracks and crevices and for spot treatment to control insects such as cockroaches. Insects ingest poisonous dusts during grooming or absorb the dust through their other body covering. Dusts also are used to control lice, fleas, and other pests on parasites on pests and livestock. Advantages of dust formulation include: most are ready to use with no mixing. Effective where moisture from a spray might cause damage. Requires special equipment. Effective in hard to reach indoor areas. Their disadvantages: easily drift off target during application. Residue easily moves off target by air movement or water. May irritate eyes, nose, throat, and skin. Will not stick to surface as well as liquids. Dampness can cause clogging and lunging. So difficult to get an even distribution of particles on surfaces. Then special dust known as tracking powders are used for monitoring and controlling rodents and insects. For rodent control, the tracking powder consists of finely ground dust combined by a stomach poison. Rodents walk through the dust, pick it up on their feet and fur, and ingest it and then clean themselves. Tracking powders are often used when bait acceptance is poor because of an abundant, readily available food supply. Non-toxic powders such as talc or flour often are used to monitor and track the activity of rodents in buildings. Poison baits. The poison bait consists of a base or carrier material attractive to the pest species and photogenous or chemical toxicant in relatively small quantities, usually less than 5%. The common base used in dry baits is wheat bran moistened with water and molasses. An attractant and a toxicant such as parathion sodium arsenate is added. The bait either attracts the pests or is placed where the pests will find it. Pests are killed by eating the bait that contains the pesticide. Baits are used inside buildings to control ants, cockroaches, fleas, other insects, and rodents. Outdoors, they sometimes are used to control snails, slugs, and insects such as ants, termites. The main use is for control of vertebrate pests such as rodents, other mammals, birds. Advantages of bait include ready to use. Entire area need not be covered because pest goes to bait. Control pests that move in and out of an area. Okay. Their disadvantages can be attractive to children and pets, may kill domestic animals and not target wildlife outdoors. Pests may prefer the crop or other food to bait. Dead vertebrate pests may cause outdoor problems. Other animals may be poisoned as a result of feeding on the poisoned pests. If baits are not moved and the pesticide becomes ineffective, it may serve as a food supply for the target pest or other pests. Granules. Granular formulations are similar to dust formulations except granular particles are larger and heavier. Aqueous particles are made from materials such as clay, corn cobs, or walnut shells. The active ingredient either coats the outside of the granules or are absorbed into them. The amount of active ingredient is relatively low, usually ranging from less than 2 to 10% by weight. In granular formulation, the particle is composed of a base set as an inert material or vegetable carrier impregnated or fused with a toxicant which is released from the formulation in its intact form or as it disintegrates, giving controlled release. The particles in the formulation generally possesses a size range of 0.25 mm to 2.38 mm diameter, but usually 250 to 1250. Yeah. Those having a range of 1100 to 300 have referred to as microgranules, and those above 300 mu are as granules. Granular pesticides are most often used to apply chemicals to the soil to control weeds, fire ants, nematodes, and insects living in the soil or for absorption into plants through the roots. Granular formulations are sometimes applied by airplane or helicopter to minimize drift or to penetrate dense vegetation. Once applied, granules release the active ingredient slowly. Some granules require soil moisture to release the active ingredient. Granular formulations may also be used to control larval mosquitoes and their aquatic pests. Granules are used in agricultural, structural, ornamental, tough, aquatic, right of way, and public health, biting insect, and pest control operations. Advantages of granular formulations include ready to use, no mixing. Advantages of granular formulations include ready to use, no mixing, drift hazard is low, particles settle quickly, little hazard to applicator, no spray, little dust. Way carries the formulation through the foliage to soil or water target. Ready to use, no mixing, drift hazard is low, the particles settle quickly, little hazard to applicator, no spray, little dust. Weight carries the formulation through foliage or soil or water target. Simple application equipment needed such as seeders or fertilizer spreaders. No undue loss of insecticide. No undesirable contamination. Residue problem is considerably less as granules do not adhere to plant surfaces. Release of toxic material is achieved over a longer period than does a sprayed deposit. Less harmful for natural enemies of the pest species. Water is not required for application. Disadvantages: often difficult to calibrate equipment and apply uniformly, will not stick to foliage or other uneven surfaces, may need to be incorporated into soil or planting medium, may need moisture to activate pesticide, may be hazardous no non-target species, especially waterfowl and other birds that mistakenly feed on seed like granules, may not be effective under drought conditions because the active ingredient is not released in sufficient quantity to control the pest. Not as effective as sprays against most crawling insects. Scorching may occur if the toxicant is concentrated in a small volume of carrier, more expensive than WP and ECs. Wettable powders, WP or W for water dispersible powder. Vegetable powders are dry, finely ground formulations that look like dusts. They usually must be mixed with water for application as a spray. Vegetable powders contain 50% to 95% active ingredient by weight, usually 50% or more. It is formulated by blending the toxicant with the diluent such as magnesium aluminium phyllosilicate, and a surface active agent and auxiliary materials, the sodium salts or sulfoacids. Diluent is needed and auxiliary material. Undiluted and diluted vegetable powder formulation. The particles do not dissolve in water. Diluent is needed and additive. No, auxiliary material. Auxiliary material is also needed. So the particles do not dissolve in water. They settle out quickly unless constantly agitated to keep them suspended. Vegetable powders are one of the most widely used pesticide formulations. They can be used for most pest problems and in most types of spray equipment formulation. Where agitation is possible, they can be used. So vegetable powders have excellent residual activity. Because of their physical properties, most of the pesticide remains on the surface of treated porous materials such as concrete, plaster and untreated wood. In such cases, only the water penetrates the material. Advantages of vegetable powders include easy to store, transport and handle, less likely than ECs and other petroleum-based pesticides to cause unwanted harm to treated plants, animals and surfaces, easily measured and mixed, less skin and eye contact than ECs and other liquid formulations. Their disadvantage is inhalation of hard to applicator while measuring and mixing the concentrated powder, require good and constant agitation, require usually mechanical in the spray tank or will quickly settle out if the agitator is turned off. Abrasive to many pumps and nozzles, causing them to wear out quickly. Difficult to mix in very hard alkaline water, often clog nozzles and screens. Residues may be visible on treated surfaces. Water soluble powders, SP or WSP, water soluble formulations. Soluble powder formulations look like vegetable powders, however, when mixed with water, soluble powders dissolve readily and form a true solution. After they are mixed thoroughly, no additional agitation is necessary. The amount of active ingredient in soluble powders ranges from 15% to 95% by weight. It usually is more than 5%, 50%. Soluble powders have all the advantages of vegetable powders and none of the disadvantages except the inhalation hazard during mixing. Few pesticides are available in this formulation because few active ingredients are readily soluble in water. Carbaryl 85 sp and Azafact 75 sp are registered in India. Water dispersible granules, WDG, or dry flowables. Water dispersible granules, also known as dry flowables, are like vegetable powders, except instead of being dust-like, they are formulated as small, easily measured granules. So, water dispersible granules must be mixed with water to be applied. Once in water, the granules break apart into fine particles similar to vegetable powders. The formulation require constant agitation to keep them suspended in water. The percentage of active ingredient is high, often as much as 90% by weight. So, water dispersible granules, also called as dry flowables, are like vegetable powders, except instead of being dust-like, they are formulated as small, easily measured granules. Water dispersible granules must be mixed with water to be applied. Once in water, the granules break apart into fine particles similar to vegetable powders. The formulation require constant agitation to keep them suspended in water. The percentage of active ingredient is high, often as much as 90% by weight. Water dispersible granules share many of the same advantages and disadvantages of vegetable powders, except they are more easily measured and mixed. Because of low dust, they cause less inhalation hazard to the applicator during handling. Then liquid formulations, emulsifiable concentrates, EC or E. An emulsifiable concentrate formulation usually contains a liquid active ingredient, one or more petroleum based solvents, which give EC formulations their strong odor, and an agent known as an emulsifier that allows the formulation to be mixed with water to form an emulsion. Upon mixing with water, they take a milky appearance. Some of the emulsifying agents in insecticide formulations are alkaline soaps, organic amines, sulfates of long chain alcohol, sulfonated aliphatic esters and amides, and materials such as alginates, carbohydrates, gums, lipids, proteins, and saponins. In addition of emulsifying agents have the following specific purpose in insecticide formulations: diluting of water insoluble chemical and water is made possible. The surface tension of the spray is reduced, allowing it to spread and wet the treated surface. A better contact with insect cuticle is made possible. Droplet size of the emulsion is greatly influenced by the kind and amount of emulsifier used. The chemical structure of the emulsifier has influence on stability and behavior of the emulsion. Most ECs contain about 25% and 75%, 2 to 8 pounds active ingredient per gallon. ECs are among the most versatile formulations. They are used against agricultural, ornamental, and turf, forestry, agriculture, food processing, livestock, and public health pests. They are adaptable to many types of application equipment during portable sprayers, hydraulic sprayers, then low volume ground sprayers, mist blowers, and low volume aircraft sprayers. Advantages of emulsifiable concentrates include relatively easy to handle, transport, and store. Little agitation required, will not settle out or separate when equipment is running, not abrasive. So relatively easy to handle, transport, and store. Little agitation required, will not settle out or separate when equipment is running, not abrasive, will not plug screens or nozzles, little visible residue on treated surface. Relatively easy to handle, transport, and store. A little agitation required, will not settle out or separate when equipment is running. No abrasive, will not plug screens or nozzles, little visible residue on treated surfaces. Their disadvantages: high active ingredient concentration make it easy to overdose or underdose through mixing or calibration errors. Easily absorbed through skin of human or animal. Solvent may cause rubber or plastic hoses, gaskets, and pump parts and surface to deteriorate. Because this is a bit more strong, so deterioration का खतरा हमेशा रहता है. May cause pitting or discoloration of painted finishes. Flammable, should be used and stored away from heat or open flame. इसको हमेशा हीट और आग से दूर रखें क्योंकि ये फ्लेमेबल है, तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. मे बी करोसिव भी है. Then suspension concentration or flowables. A flowable formulation combines many of the characteristics of emulsifiable concentrates and vegetable powders. Manufacturers use these formulations when the active ingredient is a solid that does not dissolve in either water or oil. The active ingredient impregnated on a solid carrier such as clay is ground to a very fine powder. The powder is then suspended in a small amount of liquid. The result liquid product is quite thick. Flowables share many of the features of emulsifiable concentrates, and they have similar disadvantages. They require moderate agitation to keep them in suspension and leave visible residues similar to those of vegetable powders. Flowables are easy to handle and apply because they are liquids. They are subject to spilling and splashing. They contain solid particles, so they contribute to abrasive wear of nozzles and pumps. Flowables set out in their containers. Always shake them thoroughly before pouring and mixing. Then 7XLR plus containing carbaryl is a flowable formulation. This special formulation has proved to be safer to honeybees and exhibited rain fastness. Then solution concentrate water miscible liquids. This liquid formulation contains the active ingredient in a water miscible solvent. When mixed with water during spraying, the solvent dissolves in water, leaving the active ingredient alone. Addition of the surfactant provides wetting powder. Monochrotophos. An ultra low volume ULV. These concentrates may approach 100% active ingredient. They are designed to be used as is or to be diluted and only small quantities of specific carrier. Ultra low volume. These special purpose formulations are used mostly in outdoor applications such as agricultural, forestry, ornamental, and mosquito control programs. Advantages of ultra low volume formulations include relatively easy to transport and store, remain in solution, little agitation required, not abrasive or to equipment, will not plug screens and nozzles, leave little visible residue on treated surface. The disadvantages: difficulty to keep pesticide on target, high drift hazard, specialized equipment required, easily absorbed through skin or human or animal. Then solvents may cause rubber or plastic hoses, gaskets and pump parts and surfaces to deteriorate. Calibration and application must be done very carefully because of the high concentration of active ingredient. Gaseous formulations, aerosols. These formulations contain one or more active ingredient as a solvent. Most aerosols contain a low percentage of active ingredient. In insecticides, aerosol, the toxicant is suspended as minute particles of size ranging from 0.1 to 5 mu in air as a fog or mist. This is achieved by burning the toxicant or vaporizing it with heat or atomizing mechanically. The toxicant dissolved in liquefied gas, if released through a small hole, may cause the toxicant particles to float in air with the rapid evaporation of the released gas. There are two types of formulations. Ready to use aerosol formulations are usually small, self contained units that release pesticide when the nozzle valve is triggered. The pesticide is driven through a fine opening by an inert gas under pressure, creating fine droplets. These products are effective in greenhouses and small areas. These inside buildings or in localized outdoor areas. Commercial models which hold 5 to 10 pounds of pesticides are usually refillable. Electric or gasoline powered aerosol generators, smoke or fog generating formulations. First one, ready to use aerosol formulations. Electric or gasoline powered aerosol generation, smoke or fog generator formulations that release the formulation as smoke or fog. These formulations are mainly used for insect control in structures such as greenhouses, barns, and warehouses, and for outdoor mosquito and biting fly control. Both provide easy way to treat confined spaces and have high inhalation hazards, and aerosols have high risk of fire or explosion. And fumigants, a chemical compound which is volatile at ordinary temperature and sufficiently toxic is known as a fumigant. Fumigants are pesticides that form gases or vapors toxic to plants, animals, and microorganisms. Some active ingredients are formulated, packaged, and released as gases. Others are liquids and packaged under high pressure and changed to gas when they are released. Others are solids and release gases when applied under conditions of high humidity or in presence of water vapor. So, phosphine or hydrogen phosphide gas is generated in the presence of moisture from a tablet made of aluminum phosphide and ammonium carbamate. Fumigants are used for structural pest control in food and grain storage facilities and in regulatory pest control at ports of entry and at state and national boards. In agricultural pest control, fumigants are used in soil, greenhouses, granaries, and green bins. Advantages of fumigants: toxic to a wide range of pests, can penetrate cracks, crevices, wood, and tightly packed areas such as soil or stored grains. Single treatment usually kills most pests in treated area. Disadvantages of fumigants: the urgent target site may be enclosed or covered to prevent the gas from escaping. Non-specific in that they are highly toxic to humans and all other living organisms, require the use of specialized protective equipment, including respirators specifically approved for the use with fumigants, require the use of specialized application equipment. Thank you for listening.